All right, well, I have Phillips, McCombs, McDermott, Nelson, Katukam, Wachos, and Wood present. Mukia, Summers, and Strasburg are absent. Do you want to go ahead and call it, Michelle?
Yep. Good evening, everybody. Okay, does someone want to approve minutes from last month's meeting?
I can approve them.
I will second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. All right, and we're skipping item number 1 because Brian's not here. So we're going to go next then to the referral to the Plan Commission for Pleasant View Road reconstruction design review for the retaining wall.
Yeah, so this referral happened a couple of months ago, and I think I missed getting it on one of your agendas. Oh, hi, Erin.
Hi, yeah, sorry I'm late. Getting the kids situated after a babysitter canceled.
You're just in time, actually.
Yeah, perfect timing. So the Plan Commission asked that the Arts Committee approve what our TIF staff is working on, along with our TIF consulting firm at Vandewall and Associates. And what this is the city is going to be undertaking probably the largest capital budget project that we've ever undertaken, which is the full reconstruction of Pleasant View Road from Highway 14 south to the city limits. And then the project continues on into the city of Madison. It's a joint project between the two municipalities. Right now, Pleasant View Road is a rural cross-section. It's one lane in each direction with a ditch on either side. There are no sidewalks, there are no bike lanes, no street trees, the typical amenities that you would expect on a city street. And so our plan, and we're also getting a substantial amount of federal funding through the MPO that's allocated through the MPO to begin the project in the fall of next year. And that's really just doing some preliminary work, but the real full reconstruction project would really begin in 2023. And what we're doing with the roadway is we're basically anticipating that it's going to become a regional thoroughfare that connects the city of Middleton through Madison all the way south to like the business park in Madison and further south to other communities. And so we're going to make the roadway 2 lanes in each direction. It will have pedestrian path on one side and a sidewalk on the other side. I'm sure if you've driven Pleasant View Road, you know that there are substantial grade changes. And one of the biggest parts of the project is to take down the hill that exists right now near the golf course, because that really causes a lot of sightline problems for drivers. And so that requires, it's going to require substantial retaining walls. And so our TIF staff, working with our planning consulting firm at Vandewall and Associates, strongly recommended that with these new retaining walls, we use this as an opportunity to tell the story of the area. And we wanted to do that through artwork, but we didn't want to just go with, stamping a logo on a wall like what you would see in other communities very commonly done. We really wanted to do something a little bit more unique to tell the story of the region. And so I am happy to introduce Dean Proctor, who is a designer with Vandewall and Associates. And he has come up with what I think you all will just find to be a really clever and unique project for the city. And Dean, did you prefer that I just stop share and then you pull up from your screen, or did you want me to pull up the presentation myself?
Since I moved some slides around, perhaps it makes more sense for me to show mine.
Okay.
And hopefully it'll work.
You should have the ability now.
Okay. All right. We all set?
We're all set.
Well, thank you for that introduction, Abby, and nice to meet all of you. And I'm excited to present this tonight. It's a very, very fun project, and it'll be fun to share it with you. So, and can you see my screen okay?
Mhm.
Okay. So as Abby described, on one hand, this is a huge infrastructure project, roadways and large retaining walls dealing with kind of a change in the landscape a bit. So there are these large retaining walls, and rather than this just becoming an engineered piece, we all saw a great opportunity to create something more, something that would tell a story, and in my mind, kind of create a place in people's mind and make an impression in their experience and for the city. This map is oriented where Blackhawk Road is to the left and Pleasant View Road is running from the south to the left and to the north towards Highway 14 to the right. And we created this graphic to kind of show where the large retaining walls are. So as the roadway heads north from Blackhawk Road, past the golf course and up the hill, there is an area where it cuts into the grade a bit, and there'd be a low retaining wall here on the west side. And as it keeps going up past Greenway Boulevard and up the hill, this is where most of the grade is cut, as Abby mentioned, and where the bike path will go over, and there will be a bridge here. And these highlighted areas are these large retaining walls that are a result of the grade being cut there and a retaining wall to handle the bike path coming down. So these retaining walls became kind of our palette for this enhancement. These are elevations of the 4 walls that I just pointed to. This was the wall by the golf course, the retaining wall, real small one around where the bike path comes down. And then these are the 2 retaining walls at the top of the hill where the bridge goes over, which is indicated here. And so what you're looking at here is the west elevation, or the wall that you will see to the west. So it's quite large. You can see some cars and people here to scale. Each one of these panels is 5 feet high and 10 feet wide. So it's hundreds of feet long and maybe 15 feet high, if you can begin to visualize that. And then on the east side of the road, looking at the wall elevation, here's the pedestrian overpass. And the wall's a little shorter on that side and a little shorter in length as well. So we were looking for the opportunity to tell the story and for the artwork. So we're kind of doing this in 2 ways. One is to use standard form liners, so the cost is the same as regular form or form panels that you would see, but we've selected what I think are somewhat unique ones from that standard catalog. And then where the bridge overpass occurs, we've created a large area for the artwork, which will include panels here and a kind of a feature in the middle, which is a geographical key. And though this is about 110 feet wide and about 15 feet high. And to help you visualize this, we kind of studied this and wanted to see what this was actually going to look like in the future. What would this experience look like? So this is looking north on Pleasant View, kind of right at the top of the hill, just south of where the pedestrian bridge will go over and the bike path will go over. And so we've enhanced that bridge a little bit with just a simple enhancement, enlargement of the top chord of the truss, and put the color on it that matches the color in the city's logo. But the walls we were talking about on the sides, these are the enhanced concrete panels that will have an interesting pattern in them. And I'll show you a picture of that. And the same on this side. But then in the middle, kind of connected to the bridge visually, is a 110 foot long and 15 foot high kind of art piece. The middle of that is a map that shows the location of where you are in relationship to some geographical and geological features, and then the actual enhanced art work on both sides there. So before I dive into exactly what that looks like a little bit, are there any questions at this point? Kind of get a sense for where it is and what it is?
How close is that to the cemeteries? The two little cemeteries? Well, one small and one larger.
I think the cemeteries are just over into the Madison side, Molly, and I know that our engineers, there was some work that had to go into this with it being a federal project, and because the cemeteries and the historical sites around them, they had to be really sensitive to any design work in that area. But I think that they're in Madison, right?
I don't know.
Well, the
I think
one's
they're-
at Old Sauk Road, and I think that one is in Madison, but I'm not sure which other one you're talking about, Molly.
There's a small cemetery just below the larger one.
Okay, yeah, those are
Like
both.
south
in-
on Pleasant View.
Yep,
Yeah,
those are further south.
Yeah, I would guess that they're both in Madison then.
Yep.
Okay. Any other questions about this so far? I'll move into the story, and Abby alluded to it. You kind of live in a unique location where the glaciation that occurred in north and east Wisconsin came to an end at this point, and terminal moraines built up, and to the southwest of you is the lovely driftless area. So in this unique location is the yellow dot locates Pleasant View Road here in the city of Madison here. The current locations of Lake Mendota and Monona here to get you oriented. So this is a geological map of Dane County, and it shows the Johnstown moraine, terminal moraine here, and the Middleton moraine here. So you are kind of right in the middle of this, the ending of the glaciers between the lakes and the driftless areas. And so it's very unique and very interesting. What the earth looks like underneath this is, in this area, you are on top of some glacial till in this area to the northeast. And as you move west, that glacial till goes away because the glaciers didn't go any further than this point. And so there is bedrock underneath. So we're using this geological story, and that's what we're telling as this sense of place for Middleton. So this is an elevation then of that west wall. This is the pedestrian overpass overhead. And again, this is about 15, 16 feet tall here. Here's a person on a bike on the path here. And this is a 50-foot wide and about 15-foot high panel here, and the same here. So what's drawn here as the artwork is a somewhat, and we're still working on exactly what this artwork looks like, but an artistic interpretation of if you were to slice through the earth and see the bedrock on the left here, and then the till of the glaciers coming over and laying over the top of the bedrock. So on the left, this is mostly the bedrock, which would be like in the driftless area here, and here with the glacial till. So the standard panels that are framing this artwork on the left, it's a little more varied than this, but this is a standard form, but I think with a more interesting pattern than most of them you see. Some of these lines will be not quite horizontal and will give you a bit of a flowing, a smooth wave effect. And then on the right, there's kind of this wave effect, which I think in some way subliminally kind of alludes to the flow of a glacier. And if you're looking down on drumlins or on eskers and moraines, this is kind of what you would see from the air. So on the right side, this kind of represents the glaciated area. And so then these two standard panels here frame the artwork. And a close-up view of that. This is a hand-drawn sketch, and there will be reiterations of this artwork for the final piece to maybe make it look a little bit less like a scientific illustration and more like a piece of art. And then in the middle, there's the You Are Here map, where it was taken from that map you just saw, and the dot represents where we are, and the Johnstown moraine and the Milton moraine, the drifted area and the driftless area. And then there will be an interpretive panel, probably not here. We're balancing kind of not distracting bikers and drivers, but to have something interesting to see. So nearby here, maybe where the bike ramp meets the sidewalk, just to the left of here, there might be an interpretive panel that tells this whole story. And then this is kind of where we're at now, taking that sketch artwork and beginning to look to see what the drawing exactly might look like, playing with some line technique here. And to give you a sense for what the panels themselves might look like, this is how they're articulated with different levels, smooth lines and different textures within some of these areas. So this, of course, is not exactly what it's going to look like, but a similar technique showing how the depth of the panels, the artwork will be translated into forms, and then the concrete will be poured into the forms to create these kind of relief panels. So that's what will be on these walls here, the You Are Here map and these relief panels that'll look similar in character to what you just saw. So I'm open to questions you have or comments.
I have a question on the prefabricated panels. So you have like the smooth lines on one side and then the wavy lines on the other side.
Yes.
Is there a reason why you didn't do the same design on both sides?
Yes, the one on the left side was kind of meant to be an abstract representation of kind of the layering of the bedrock. So it was meant to kind of contrast with the artwork, which is more literal translation of the section through the earth. But it was meant to be kind of more interesting than a typical engineered panel that you see, but to represent the bedrock on the left and the glaciers on the right.
I think it's going to look really beautiful. I really like everything you presented, and I can imagine it because it was such a good presentation and drawings and everything. So thank you.
Well, thank you.
My only question is, what is the upkeep on these, since we've struggled with that for other artwork in the city before, and obviously it will be exposed to lots of elements with light and rain and wind.
Yeah. One of the decisions that can be made as to whether this will be, they'll be stained or not. And there's two different techniques. One is an integral stain where the coloring is added to the concrete. And so the color is throughout the concrete in the panel. And the other is where the stain is actually applied to the surface. And that's where you get into some maintenance. And so I think we're cognizant of that. We hear, of course, that it's not something that you want to have to maintain as the years comes. And so these panels should have a long life if it's integral staining or just the natural concrete with some quality control. There won't be a lot of maintenance that will be needed.
Okay, and then follow-up question, Abby, this might be more to you, but I am guessing that while federal funds and shared funds with the City of Madison are being used for this, I'm guessing that all upkeep would fall in City of Middleton's jurisdiction.
That's correct. And all of the costs associated with this upgraded artwork is also in the city's jurisdiction. And for the initial cost, we are using TIF District 3 funding to pay for the road, for our portion of the road project. But the maintenance would all be our costs.
Okay, got it.
Anybody else have questions?
Just a comment that I just think this is phenomenal. We've been so fascinated recently with the driftless area. My partner is a fly fisherman and he loves going through that area. And to think that we could kind of claim the doorway to the driftless area is pretty darn cool. So thank you for this.
Yeah, I think it is. I agree with Katie. I think we're, since we're kind of on the precipice of both, that it's nice to kind of incorporate that. And it's going to be a concrete wall anyway, so it may as well have some artistic appeal. So you're just here to give us kind of a little bit of an overview of this now, and then you'll be coming back to us with designs, I presume.
Yes, Abby, what's the timing on the next
Yeah,
step?
I don't know. That's a good question. I know that the city is working on getting all of the final roadway designs submitted in January. And I don't know like what the firm deadline is for the retaining wall and the art panels. But I can keep you posted on the project because our TIF group meets about once every 3 weeks or so. And so I get an update on it and I can pass it along to the arts committee.
Okay, wonderful. Well, thank you for coming. If no one has any further questions, we'll let you go.
Okay, very good. Thanks a lot.
Thank you,
have a good
Jean.
evening.
Thank you.
You bet. Good night.
And Arts Committee, since this was a referral from the Plan Commission, if you had any kind of action that you wanted to take just to send back to them, that could be helpful, or if you want to wait, that's okay too.
I think, and I don't know how the others feel, but I think until we have a design and we kind of are moving a little bit more forward, I don't really know that we would have a recommendation just yet, unless you guys have a strong feeling about something you really want included or excluded.
The only thing that the Arts Committee took action on so far, that the Plan Commission took action on, was just to say that they did support having an upgraded design instead of just a normal concrete wall. So if you wanted to do something like that, you could, or if you don't feel comfortable, you can wait. That's fine too.
Abby, follow-up question. So with the financial stuff, sorry to harp on this, but would that come out of like capital funds for upkeep? Like our small art budget is what I'm getting at. Clearly
right.
won't cover upkeep.
No, that's gonna have to be an operating expense of the Public Works Department.
Okay.
So the Public Works Department will have to take on maintenance of the retaining wall. It won't be coming out of our small budget.
Okay, that was the only thing I wanted to check on.
Good question.
Abby, did they do the overpasses too on the Beltline? Because they kind of are reminiscent of the concrete work that's on the facades of the overpasses. I don't know if you've noticed it, and then it's got like the city of Madison.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, the
Mhm.
Junction Road, like near Junction Road.
There's a couple of them actually along the Beltline.
I don't think they did those, but they did share those as precedent, like images early on. And there were some people on our TIF team that just wanted to do the logo. And I was like, no, please, something other than the logo, something that's more unique to Middleton. If we're already paying like a little extra, let's do something different. Because you can put a logo on something for really inexpensive. Like it doesn't really make sense to get like a custom form liner and like stamp it in the concrete. So, so luckily so far, I think the rest of the team has come around to my way of thinking on it.
Well, that's good.
Abby, would it help to have me move to what was I just going to say, to say that we're satisfied with the concept?
That'd be fine. Yeah.
Would you guys be comfortable saying that?
I think so. Can I just point out one more thing that I noticed in the bridge is there is like the grid work has an M right in the middle of it. I wonder if we could highlight that with the burgundy color or the bright green color or something. And that could kind of incorporate the logo colors in at least.
Let me pull that up so you can see that. We noticed that too. We didn't talk about highlighting it though in a different color. That's absolutely something you could recommend and we could look into it. I don't see why it would be an issue. As long as our public works department doesn't think it's somehow distracting to drivers, but I wouldn't think they would.
That's where my head was going there. So I'm sure they've cleared this with the whole DMV thing, knowing the whole sculpture issue on the Parmenter roundabout. Like this isn't considered like a distraction or something like that.
Good
Yeah.
question.
I haven't heard, I mean, there, aside from discussing like the art panel where it has the map, the one that actually is kind of more literal than just the designs in the concrete that are really going to blend in. They're not really detailed that you're supposed to like see any like particular aspect of it. You're just kind of seeing the general picture of it. We did have that discussion as it pertained to the map. It is in an area that's likely to experience quite a bit of pedestrian and bike travel rather than being oriented more toward the drivers because it's under the bridge.
Yeah, I don't think that there would be an issue with drivers I mean, it's the same as a billboard pretty much, right? Like, I think the issue with the sculpture on Parmenter was like line of sight, right? As far as distracting drivers from seeing the circular traffic, but yeah, just thought I'd throw that out there.
Gazing upon our beautiful artwork as they went around and around and around the roundabout.
Right.
Yeah, we have had civil engineers and traffic folks review it, and so far they haven't raised any red flags, so hopefully.
All right, yeah, we should be good then.
Oh, here's the bridge. Sorry, I was trying to find it and pull it up while I was talking. Okay. So this is what Michelle was talking about, is if you look in the designs of the bridge, it kind of forms an M.
Oh yeah, that would be really cool. I didn't
I think
catch
if we
that.
could do our green logo color there, then that would kind of pull in both of the colors without having the logo emblazoned, you know.
Yeah, no, that's a great idea.
Okay, so Katie, you wanted to make a motion?
Yeah, I move to refer back to the planning commission that we are satisfied with the concept. I hate to say the word approve because we're not officially approving anything, but that we like the concept. And so I guess that's my motion.
Are they in the concept phase now, Abby? They haven't presented the final.
Yeah, they haven't presented the final
Design.
details to anyone.
Oh yeah, this is in SketchUp, so this is definitely very preliminary concept.
Because, you know, I know we've been kind of we cover the plan commission meetings and council meetings. And so this has been in the paper a couple times when it's been discussed. So I just was curious how far along you are. Okay, so do we have a second to Katie's motion then to make recommendations when we have a less broad or when we have a more pinpointed concept?
I would second.
All in favor?
Aye.
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 This is an exciting project, I think.
And I'll pass along your idea as well, separate from the motion, Michelle. I think that's a good idea to have the M highlighted. All right, let me just pull the agenda back up here. Sorry. Here we go.
All right, so we are moving on then to the art walk update and next steps. And we actually, Abby and Meg and I had a brief meeting on Tuesday, and we've started working on a few things to get the ball rolling with this. Meg, do you want to speak about this?
Yes, I can. Our immediate next steps are to attract artists to apply. And so we are going to have a Facebook ad. Abby sent out an email to Julie from tourism to see if we could use their Instagram account to do an Instagram ad, because the city does not have an Instagram account that we can use, other than that one, I guess. And we did briefly talk about doing a mailing, which I don't know if we'll have enough time to get that accomplished or not, but that is a good idea, I think, to hold on to for the future. We're gonna do an email blast to the artists that we have emails on file for. What else am I missing?
We also, Abby also contacted Julie to ask if we could have the billboard during that time to
Mhm.
advertise. And then we'll be advertising in other publications around the area later on for the festival, but right now we're focused on that. What else did we talk? Oh, we talked about festival insurance as well.
Mhm. And we still, I guess the big thing that Abby was talking about in the email was the location, because that's pretty important, that we need to narrow down the location. We're trying to have it near the brewery on Terrace Avenue. And so the thought would be that we could like section off a zone where people could walk around, shop, and have a beer. So as long as that works out, that's the location I think it's going to be in this time, because Stonehorse Green is not really an option this time. So if we can't do it on Terrace Avenue, we'll have to brainstorm some more alternatives. Let's hope that works out, because I think it sounds really fun.
Did talk with our public works director, Sean Stowski, and he said he didn't see an issue with having it on Terrace Avenue. He said it's a really easy street to close. He just said that, you know, we're gonna need to make sure that we're doing a really good job contacting the people who live along that stretch well in advance, and the residents and the owners, because they need to get their car out of that zone if they want to be able to move their car during the art walk. So between, you know, I don't know how early we're going to let artists set up, but like as soon as we are going to let that happen, we need to have the road closed. And so there's going to be a long stretch, and there are residents who live on that street, especially the apartment building, you know, that has 39 units in it. So those people we just need to make sure that they understand that they can't move their car at all during that time.
Mhm.
Did you end up getting flyers out at the Middleton outreaches? Art event?
No, I'm sorry. I didn't end up going to the Middleton outreach art fair.
Okay.
But
I
Erin
went
did
to
it.
it and I did gather some business cards of some of the artists, so we can
Okay.
add them to our list as well.
Okay.
Yeah, so I can get you the whole membership list, because I handed out like, gosh, gotta be like 200, close to 200 flyers that I just printed out at the art fair off the square for Monona Terrace for my art show a couple weekends ago. And between patrons that were interested, and then I went around to all the artists too, anyone who was local, you know, like local within an hour. I didn't figure people from like northern Wisconsin would want to drive for 6-hour show for the whole day. But yeah,
Well,
there's a
thanks,
lot of
Erin.
interest.
That's really nice.
Yeah, so there's a lot of interest, and I pretty much told everybody that, you know, to watch for email or information on the website, so we could take that whole artist list from Wisconsin Arts and Crafts Alliance too, as
Mhm.
far as local people, and just add it in there too. Because I think the existing email list is probably that Google document I filled out back like 2 years ago, right?
That's the email list for the art walk. Yep.
Yeah, from all the like the Middleton artists document. Okay.
Yeah, I think we have actually kind of a few lists that we could kind of ping, because we have artists that aren't in Middleton as well. So we have like the artists in Middleton, AIM, and then we have a list of artists from like probably Dane County that we could email. And it sounds like Michelle has a bunch of people. Erin, you have a bunch of people. So we just need to like join it into one giant email. I don't know timing feasibility with Abby's schedule, but we certainly would not want to send out the email until the form's on the website. So if we can get that up there first. I don't know if we want to aim for like
tomorrow. So anytime
will be on
after tomorrow.
Okay. So we do have a deadline of February 28th set up for the artists to apply. So I think the sooner the better, because, well, I know Erin can chime in here, but I feel like a lot of artists are already getting their art fairs booked for the year. So I kind of want them to know about this now, earlier than later. And then we have a max of what we said last time we did this, we had 40, a max of 40, and we increased it this year to 50. So that's the goal, is to get 50 artists to participate.
Okay. Are we breaking them up into like mediums, as far as like we have 5 spaces for, you know, ceramics and 5 for jewelry, or just kind of jurying the whole thing? And
Last time we didn't put the same mediums together, but I think it was because we were more concerned about matching businesses up with the correct artists. So since we
yeah.
don't have that hurdle this time, we could do that if you think that's more successful. I think that's definitely something that we could talk about more as we get there. One thing that we did try to do is when we reviewed the artists, we try not to have like too many painter, or, you know, too many in one field. So we tried to mix it up so we'd have a large variety, because you don't want to have like an art walk and everyone's doing watercolor.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
But if you want to join, if anyone on the committee wants to be on the working group when we meet off these meetings, just let us know, shoot us an email or whatever. And the more help we can get, the better. That's my opinion. But I don't know.
Oh.
Sorry.
Go ahead.
I think, is it, Abby, do we have a max of amount of people that can be on the working group?
Max would be 4.
Okay. So I think right now it's Michelle and I, right, Michelle? So we can have 2 more.
Yeah.
Does that include jurying? Because I'd be glad to help, but obviously if I'm gonna like apply, I can't also be part of the jury process.
Well, it doesn't have to, and actually I feel that we should try to get professional artists or an art professor maybe, or a gallery owner or something like that to do the jurying.
Well, I thought we're not going to jury this event. This one.
Oh, we're not jurying this one?
I think Erin's talking about when we select the artists, right?
Oh.
Yeah, that's what I
see.
mean by jury, sorry.
Yeah, that might be a conflict of interest for you, Erin.
Yeah, like I'm happy to offer advice and help in planning. I think that local businesses like Jessica at Regal Find and John or Christine at John Christine Designs Gallery, like you could probably find some local people that would be great as far as, you know, like impartial view for selecting artists too.
That's a good idea. I like that.
That's a good idea.
Kind of removes, you know, the pressure from this group. But yeah, if anything you need, I'd be happy to be part of the working group as far as the planning process. I just don't want to create any kind of conflict when it comes to selecting artists. So I can always bow out at that time when we decide.
Okay. Yeah, we can discuss that with Abby and figure out how that's going to work out.
Yeah.
Did you have something you wanted to say, Kendra?
I just had a couple of questions. How many applications did you usually get? Like, is it really gonna have to be selecting a lot, narrowing a lot down?
No, I think there were like 10 people maybe that we didn't select. Is that about right, Abby? I want to say. I have that spreadsheet somewhere. It wasn't that many, but it was we had stipulations. So like mainly if they weren't selected, it was because they weren't selling anything. There was one person who wanted to just display stuff and they didn't have anything for sale. And then I think the other people that didn't make it was just we had too many of one area of art.
And also we
only had
outside of Dane County too, right?
Yeah, that was a little tricky because we did narrow it down to Dane County last time. I don't think we're doing that this time. Are we putting stipulations on?
I thought we had discussed doing it as just Dane County, but maybe I'm mistaken.
It's just hard because like, if you think about, there's a lot of towns nearby that aren't in Dane County, like Lodi is so close. And there was an artist from Lodi that we couldn't have. And so I don't know if we need to necessarily have that parameter on the application.
Well, I say if somebody wants to drive from northern Wisconsin, then, and you know, that doesn't matter to me. I mean, when we were doing Grantwood Art Festival, we used to get people from Wisconsin and Ohio and all over the region. So, I mean, if they want to go that far,
Yeah,
I do think it should be kept to Wisconsin, but
yeah, I would agree with keeping it Wisconsin.
mm,
I
We're
just don't, I
actually
don't think
around
it's,
20 last time that we turned down.
20, oh, you opened it, you found it?
It was more than I thought.
Yeah, I think another thing was some of them were a little bit more craftsy and we were trying to make it not be like the Good Neighbor Festival. So it was a little
Mhm.
different. So if it was like American Girl doll clothing, it was like, no, that's not what we're going for. We were looking for more fine art. So
yeah, that's a good point.
I did look into festival insurance. I found the company that we used, and I think it's called K&K. I wrote it down somewhere. They need to know, they have a lengthy application that I'll need to fill out before they can give us a quote. This would protect us and the artists for their fee if we had to cancel the festival, if we had to, if we had live music that we needed to pay regardless and had to cancel, then it kind of safeguards against that. And specifically what my biggest concern is it being outside with no indoor location backup. So I will have more information hopefully on that at our next meeting.
Okay, yeah, I will say all the artists I talked to at the last art show that I handed these flyers out to aren't generally, I mean, obviously insurance is a good idea, but are, bring in these heavy duty tents so that they don't have to deal with the outside, with the conditions that could arise, so.
Well, I use the example that we started getting insurance because we had an incident in which the artist tents were picked up and slammed back down onto the ground during a thunderstorm. And a lot of artwork was destroyed. And at that point, we decided we needed to have an inside backup location. We also, when we did it a couple more years just outside and we had insurance those couple of years and then had a backup indoor plan. So I just, I don't want, if something were to happen, I don't want the artists to have hard feelings because their artwork got destroyed at our art walk. And, I think we should, if it's not too expensive, I think we should, protect ourselves too, in case something happens.
Yeah, it's a good idea. Now that I think about it, I think every show I do has some fine print about you have to have like 50-pound weights and a steel frame tent, and it's all your responsibility. Yeah,
Well,
I've seen some
and-
pretty terrible things happen in high weather events.
I think in regard to liability, we're probably covered under the city's umbrella plans. We don't have to worry about that. And that's actually more expensive. Or if you're insuring, we also had to insure original Grant Wood pieces at the festival that I was in charge of before. And that was really expensive because we had to get $5 million of insurance, just because, and these were pieces that were not iconic pieces, like it's not like we had American Gothic there or anything. But still it was, it was a concern if the artwork got destroyed or somebody tried to steal one of the pieces or something. So we don't have to worry about all those things, but I think it is just the festival in general. I think it's a good idea to kind of have some protection if we can afford it. Do we have other art walk stuff?
I was just wondering, is anybody concerned about, the amount of time that it might take for the artist to set up and whether we're going to have enough time that morning? Because last year or the last time we did it, they set up the night before. And I'm guessing for even like Art Fair on the Square, I think they set up the night before and then they just lock the tents and they have security. But in our case, we wouldn't be doing that. We wouldn't have them set up until the morning up. Is that going to be okay?
I would make sure. So how much time the morning of?
Well, the thing starts at 10.
Okay, so you probably have like a 3-hour window. Give or take. I set up the morning of for the art walk, just because without security, there was no way I was leaving all that overnight. Plus the weather was not dependable. I mean, I think it's fine, and it would be an extra cost for security with the insurance stuff we're talking about to set up the night before. I think that it kind of limits in some way some of the artists, like those that have ceramics would be a good example, where they have to actually like put together all the stands that, you know, and then unwrap each one of their pieces. Like for me, I just bring a limited number of pieces, and it's probably like an hour to set up for hanging paintings and everything. Jewelry is usually a pretty quick setup, but I would think that anyone, especially local, would be fine to have 3 hours of setup that morning. I would just make sure that that's like really crystal clear on the application, so that they're not expecting to come in Friday night and get all ready.
Okay.
I wonder if we could offer, you know, that they could set up their tents and their tables the night before so that they would have less set up the next morning. It'll be partitioned off, right? It won't.
I don't think we were planning on blocking the road until the next morning. So if they were setting up the night before, we would have to block the road that night.
Yeah, and you'll need to put specific language in there about trailers. I honestly, I don't think this will be a problem, but I'm just letting you know from these larger shows that that's usually the people that take longer are the ones that have to actually physically drive a trailer in, that, you know, can't use dollies and things like that. And then those people would obviously really need to know that the road was going to be closed off, that they couldn't just drive up curbside and unload everything at 8 a.m. say.
And there's the other issue that we had every single time that I used to help the city run the Clean and Green events, which is you show up in the morning and you're ready to set up the event, and there are cars parked there when they're not supposed to be there. Like that will inevitably happen also. There will be cars on the street, on Terrace Avenue. It doesn't matter how much signage we put up, somebody will park there.
Right.
So then 7 a.m. is when we're planning on closing the street. Is that what we're going to ask for? Is that, could we do it?
I would
an hour
say
earlier?
to
Could
allow
we do
for
it at
setup,
6?
I'd say set up from 7 to 10, and then just say if you're driving up, like 7 to 8 is maybe your only window, and after 8 a.m. no more anybody on the street.
Okay, that's good enough.
Okay, are there other questions or other information that you, Meg and Abby, that you think we missed?
Don't think so.
Do we, this is just informational as well, correct? We don't need to have a motion on this.
Meg, we already have the funds allocated to do more advertising for the art walk this year, so we don't need to talk about that, right? Since we still have money in the budget, we'll just use the rest of what we have.
Yeah, I think if we can get those Facebook ads up or whatever, that's probably the easiest thing to accomplish before the end of the year. I did calculate, we have $354 we have left that we can spend on the art walk this year.
Okay.
So one thing to bear in mind with a Facebook ad is that you don't get billed for that until the ad is done running. So I don't know how that will affect billing, for the city.
I can still, as long as the cost is incurred this year, even if the bill doesn't come till like late January, I can still code it back to this year.
Okay, all right.
Okay.
Anything else?
I'm Molly, and the reason my picture isn't on is because I don't know how to do it.
It's the bottom left. There's a little video camera.
That's beyond my ability, but maybe next time my daughter will be here to help me.
Molly, I'm gonna ask you to start your video, and if it asks you, just click on yes. Then we'll get to see you.
Hey,
There we
There
go.
you are.
Hi, Molly.
Don't worry, Molly, it's almost 2 years into Zoom and I still have difficulties some days, so.
Okay, sure, me too.
Ugh.
So, any other questions, comments, concerns?
No,
Should we-
thank you for all your work on that.
All right, yes, thank you for entrusting us to work on it. Okay, so let's move on to number 4 then, which is an update on the youth center. That project's rolling along. We have traced the wood. We're in the cutting process of the wood right now. I started out with 5 kids the first week, and then some other kids saw what we were doing, and so then we had 5 more kids last month or in December. And we're cutting it off next month because otherwise we're not going to have enough time to finish the project. But the kids are excited about it. And so our next step is we're going to paint before we start assembling the buildings. I did have to order some more wood. And I will probably end up having to get some more glue and a couple of other things for the project, but we should be still well within budget.
And are you gonna send me receipts to reimburse you, or are they gonna bill us directly?
I have been using the city's credit card.
Oh,
so-
okay. All right, good.
Okay,
Good deal. I'll know what it
Okay.
is comes through. Thank you.
okay.
Michelle, have you been taking photos at all?
No, I haven't because I have been,
Helping.
instructing them. And so I haven't really been taking any pictures, but it did dawn on me when I left last time that I should be taking some pictures. So I'll try to get some in our next steps.
Can you remind everyone when the next one is? I think I can be there.
I believe it is January 5th. It's the first Wednesday. We have to go to Colorado, so I may have to push that back until mid-month. But I should know when we're leaving and coming back.
At 4 p.m.?
It's from 4 to 5.
Okay.
And
I guess if anyone else wanted to come help, they would be welcome to.
yeah, you're welcome to come and help. Abby, who has been assisting me, not this Abby, but Abby at the Art Center, Youth Center, says that this is the most involvement that they've had with an art project. And
Aw.
she's been very excited about it too. She's also making a house. I'm making a house. So we're building. I should back up a little and say we did a brainstorming session the first night. We talked about some of the buildings that people recognize or that the kids recognize in Middleton. So we'll of course have the library and or I should say a library, a fire department, a diner, all those things will be represented in our little city. So that is where we're at.
Cool. Thank you
I
so
will-
much.
Try to get some pictures next time. Anybody have any questions? This is supposed to end at the end of the school year, and we have already discussed if we get too far behind or if we need extra time, then I'll come in a couple times a month and kind of, get us finished up. So right now we're on track.
Awesome.
All right, so shall we move on to the next one, which is Recreation Department partnerships.
And I put Erin on this one because she kind of had taken the lead with the holiday tree lighting. Erin, are you on? She might be.
No, I'm here, sorry.
Kudos.
Reprimand
okay.
some kids.
I figured.
Got Steve's daughter over babysitting, so she's only 14 or 15, so
Aw,
4 kids is a lot for her.
great.
So yeah, no real specific updates. Obviously, we did the Halloween event, since I know we didn't meet last month, and then we did the holiday tree lighting. Thank you to my helpers. Everyone that's there for the holiday tree lightings. They saw like how fast that went. So we went again and spent some of our budget to prepare for next year, but there's a big hit with the make your own ornaments. We had versions for the older kids and for the younger kids that were kind of different degrees of difficulty. And just one of the kits happened to come with these nice little individual bags, which was perfect to just put everything in there because it was kind of chaotic with families just barging in there. So it was nice to be able to hand them that, so if they didn't have time to make an ornament there, they could take it home, and then those that wanted to do it there could. I know that Rebecca Price always likes to do stuff when there are school outages. So if we do have a lot of supplies, so I think that we could do one or two of the, there's like weird Wednesdays, right, Abby? I think like the second Wednesday in February, and
I
then
know
I think the same in March.
Yeah, I can pull up the calendar here.
There's school outages, so there's a good opportunity there to do something for the kids for arts and crafts. The challenge is where you would have that given the weather now and COVID, obviously, but we could talk to Matt and Rebecca and see if there's a possibility of doing something like at Lakeview safely. But looking ahead to summer, now that the like winter and spring recreation catalog is out, it would be great, especially with our growing list of artist contacts for potential volunteers to do something over the summer. I've been individually wanting to do that for many years now, just because the city has so many limited resources on running those rec programs. There's always fights for, space and things like that. So it would be great to just keep in mind for the future. I think everyone agreed that the summer fun was a big hit. So if there's an opportunity to do that this next year, that would be great. But also some more specific programs that would engage things like graphic art, and, kind of broader topics. Like, I know I've talked to my coworkers about doing something for like architecture 1 week for older students. So it's my goal to kind of work out those little details with Rebecca as far as, how many kids they could accommodate and how that would all function for the summer and the coming weeks here. And the only other thing I really wanted to mention was that I met a woman at I have to dig out her name because now I've forgotten, but I have all her contact information. Met her at the art fair at Benona Terrace back in November. And she and her son, who is a disabled adult, have a spot in Middleton that they recently opened, and it is geared towards adults, not youth, with arts. So he does all kinds of painting, but they have performance art as well. And I thought, what a great opportunity to be able to reach a population that normally, does not have access, doesn't have programs built into school. When we have these opportunities to try to involve different sectors of art. So just something to keep in mind. I'll get her information out as I continue.
Aaron,
I
is that Barb
actually
Fleshman?
brought her
Barbara
up a couple.
Fleshman?
Sorry?
Is it Barbara Fleshman and Ben?
It's Mary.
Yeah.
No, it's Mary Beth and Alex Honty, isn't it? Inspiring Hope is what you're talking about, that little blue building on University.
I don't know where they're located, but Inspiring Hope does sound familiar.
So I've already been in discussions with her about doing this. We did a story about them a couple months ago, and I brought this up at one of the previous meetings, I think maybe October, about doing some kind of partnership and something with them. I have all of her contact information, but we haven't really moved forward yet with anything. She was trying to still work out the kinks. But I'm sure that's who you're talking about.
Yeah, I know they're still working out a lot of stuff, but I was just, for like summer fun, especially, I thought what a cool idea for, we were really low on performance art for trying to integrate that. That would be really cool to do. So, but great. So everyone else already knows.
Alex was actually one of the artists at the Art Walk last time. And since you brought that up, we should reconnect with, is it VSA? Am I saying that right, Abby? Because they had brought a lot of artists that were of different abilities, and they were set up in the library. And it was really, I think, quite popular. So we should probably reach out to them at some point in time and see if they're interested in participating again. And then we could also reach out to this Aspiring Hope, is that what it's called? And see if they.
Meg, remember in Hilldale, there was like an empty storefront where some artists, Eric, do you remember the name of the art group? You had a patient who was an artist and they had a storefront in Hilldale and they were all do you know who Barb Fleshman is? Do you know who Ben Fleshman is, the artist?
It sounds familiar. That's why I kind of
So Steve
gravitated.
Fleshman was the head of the Modern Art Museum downtown in Madison. And his son is differently abled. Is that proper? And he and another group of artists, they're really amazing artists and they sell their pieces. It would be really a good group to invite to the art walk.
Okay. If you have their contact information, can you send it to me?
Yeah, I will.
Okay.
I'm sorry
Okay.
that I'm so flighty with my contact.
It's all right. But yeah, so just lots of great opportunities coming up. I know we have tons of things that we want to do with our very small budget. So that's probably something we'll have to financially discuss at our next meeting as to, you know, how many of those events we do. I do think concretely we have enough supplies to do at least one or two just what we have now under my staircase in the house. So after that, we'd probably be getting into budget items, but
One of the other
Thank you
things
so
that we
much.
just, I was just gonna say, speaking of money, one of the other things that we discussed was we're not eligible for the Middleton Endowment Grant because we don't have a 501c3. But the county has I believe it's quarterly or biannually, I'm not sure which, arts grant that they give out to organizations like ours. And they like to see collaborations with people with different abilities, with minorities, with underserved communities. And so I'm hoping the next round of funding comes out in March. So I'm hopeful that maybe we'll get some money from that.
yeah, that would be wonderful.
I don't want our meeting to go too long, but we also discussed having a donate button on our website. I think that's gonna
that's
be on
right.
the agenda for next month, maybe, Abby? What do you think? So that we can get that on there and hopefully get some more funds for these art projects that we want to do. Because I don't know about you guys, but I get things in the mail all the time from like Pheasant Branch and stuff, and they're asking for tiny amounts, like $25. And so I'll send them $25, sure, you know? It's like a little bit helps, you know, when you add it all together. And who knows, somebody might be really passionate about the arts and want to donate to a certain project or whatever. Oh, and we also have the funds, Abby, from the roundabout that we need to
Yep.
figure out.
Yeah, that's like $12,000.
Mm-hmm. So
Maybe
I
we
guess
should put funding on the next agenda.
Okay.
yeah, it's a good idea. And another thing I know I don't want our meeting to get too long, but for next time is we will need to set up a working group for the utility boxes.
That's right.
So that's going to be a pretty big project for next year.
Yep.
Okay, sorry. Should we move on to?
Okay, so do we have anything else? Did you want to say anything else, Erin, or does anyone have any questions?
No, what I'll do is I'll work with Rebecca and I'll put together a more concrete, timeline, dates, events, and, possible budget items for next time. And then you'll have something to actually work off of.
Okay, great. Thank you for taking the lead on that.
Absolutely.
Okay, so next we have initiative to support artists of color and underrepresented youth. And who would like to talk about that?
This started with an email or a message between Maria and Meg and I, and it was basically just, I think at first it started when Maria sent us an article that had some information about some work that Triangulador was doing in Madison with youth. And then we kind of spitballed a few ideas, but I put it on the agenda. I wasn't sure if there was anything that we specifically wanted to talk about with that. So I'll pass it over to Maria or Meg if you have anything you want to mention.
I didn't have like something specific, but I just did want to, or the committee to prioritize funding for artists of color, working with underrepresented youth. So I think I sent that article as a great example of what could be done. I know our budget is not big, but I would love to. I mean, maybe we could even do a fundraiser or something like that. But I think that it should be a priority for the arts committee to support that.
I think everybody is supportive of that idea, and I would love to have an artist come in and do the volunteering at another youth center project, and I'm sure that they would be receptive to doing something like that.
Maria, do you have like a list of artists of color, or how do you find that information?
Karen Wolf has a really good list that we could talk to her and get it. They're really good about prioritizing their projects with artists of color. So
Okay.
I could ask her for that.
I mean, I would love to see more diversity at the art walk. It's just we can only contact the artists that we have their emails for. So if we can find.
I mean, I was talking more about not necessarily, I was talking about like a specific project led by an artist of color, like just like the one that I sent you guys. Not for like just activities here and there, but more of a specific project that supports, gives a significant amount of funding for this artist to do a project with underrepresented youth.
Maybe we could tie that in with the white panels, because we've talked about doing a fundraiser to raise money for an artist, you know, to complete some artwork on that. So maybe that could be a project.
I thought the white panels were a no-go.
I thought we hadn't determined that yet.
For painting, they're kind of a no-go, but we could, I think Kendra came up with the idea that we could wrap the panels with something, and I think somebody else suggested 3D art somehow adhered or fixed to them. That might be an idea.
Okay, so it's still on the table. So I think for item number 6 is what we should do for next year is when, since this project at the youth center has been so popular, since we have time to plan now for next year, we could hire an artist of color to do what Michelle's doing at the youth center, and they run the whole project. We'd have to get prices and stuff, but.
The other thing we could do is if we can get the list from Karen and at the City of Madison, and I also have a book that was put together of all the murals that were done during the Black Lives Matter protests, and many of those are artists of color, and I think it has their contact information in the book. So we could maybe also, you have that too?
Yeah.
We could maybe also reach out to those artists with the RFP that we're gonna have when we do the utility box project. I don't know, I mean, that's not gonna be a huge amount of money. We're talking about like a stipend of $600 for one-time rights to the artwork. But maybe some of those artists might apply for that.
Some things I've participated in the past have been like a call for art. So there's a $5,000 to $10,000 project, and then the artists submit their project proposal, and then the committee gets to decide what project to go with. And so it could be something like that too, where you get the funding first, And if the committee wants a specific project, then that it could be that way, but or if they want to be open to having the artist propose the project, that's different. But I think maybe I don't know, maybe the first thing is to try to get funding for something and then move on from that step.
Mhm. Well, I think we might have some funding next year with the roundabout money, so.
And if
Should
we
we
put a
just-
donate button up, perhaps we'll get some more funding from that.
Should we add this to the agenda to discuss more next time?
Yeah, I think so.
Okay,
I think just funding in general.
yeah, and I mean, Maria, would you still be able to get the list from Karen in the meantime?
Yeah, I can ask her,
Okay,
and I can start brainstorming of some that I know of. Mhm.
okay, that's good, because it would be good just to even have like a price point of how much something like this would cost.
Abby, are we allowed to create like a 501c3 for art specific things? I don't know the legalities with that. I know I've talked over that with like Matt in terms of parks things and having to have like a community group 501c3. I just know, like there's like ETC, for instance, does quarterly grants and they would love to throw money at the arts in Middleton. So I just feel like there's a lot of opportunities out there when we're always constricted on funding.
Yeah, the way that it's usually been done with projects that are kind of quasi, like local government, are through friends groups. So there's a Friends of the Middleton Public Library, but they have their own separate board and they make their own decisions, but they support library programming. And then we're trying to form a Friends of the Stonehorse Green. We have a group right now that we're calling the Friends of the Stonehorse Green, but they're not officially a 501c3. I did get a whole bunch of info from Jolynn Rorda, I think, with the Art and Lit Laboratory about forming a 501c3 because she just did it herself and learned all of it. And so she documented everything and sent it over to me. And then there's Maple, which is the Middleton Area Public Lands Endowment, which is separate from the city, but they support public lands projects. So I don't know, I mean, it's possible we could form a 501c3, but I don't think we would get to decide who, I mean, at some point they're gonna be electing their own board members and they're gonna kind of be independent of us, I think. If that makes sense.
Did you tell me that some other entity formed a 501c3 recently? Some city entity? I thought we talked about that before.
Well, I may have said that the Friends of the Stonehorse Green is working on getting a 501c3.
Do we need to form a Friends of the Middleton Arts Committee?
So that's where I'm headed because I'm meeting with this woman named Holly in 2 weeks, who is one of the board members for the Madison community group. And therefore, they have this vehicle. This came about when talking to Matt Amundsen in Parks and Rec about funding and fundraising for Penny Klein Park, or All Abilities Playground. So I know it's out there. I know there's a lot of paperwork to get through it, but yeah, I'm meeting with this woman, Holly, just because she's obviously done this for Madison before, just to get some more information of the ins and outs. I just didn't know. I know it's easy when it's project specific, Abby, because all the funds have to go to one thing and it's kind of, got a time limit, but I didn't know for ongoing if there's an opportunity there, because I'm sure a lot of people would be willing to donate just generally to the arts versus project specific too.
Yeah, I mean, so if that's the route that this group decides to go, I mean, there are annual reporting requirements. I mean, it's pretty, you have to file tax exempt forms, right? Like you need to make sure that you're following all the rules because you could really get yourself into trouble if there's a mistake that's made. And I think the other question would be, would the expectation be that the city houses the funds, or would they be housed in a separate account?
Maybe this is something that we should bring up next month again in regard to funding. Maybe this falls under funding. Because I feel like we really will be missing out on a lot of arts grants if we do not have a 501c3. And honestly, if we want to move this committee forward, you know, and do bigger and better projects and more community involvement, we're going to need money.
Yeah, that's where I'm headed, because I know we're not going to get much more for, you know, budgets in future years. And I do know all the paperwork, Abby. I have a 501c3 headquartered at my house right now, and I have to file all of that every year for an international nonprofit. So I'd be glad to do the paperwork, but yeah, as far as the city holding funds versus a separate, that's, yeah. I'll get more information and I can bring that to the next meeting after talking to Holly, since she's run this with City of Madison for so long.
Thanks, because I do think that would be beneficial to us.
Do we have an update on the percent for arts? I just realized that kind of fell off of. the table. Is that still happening?
That's a great question.
If that gets approved, then there will be a lot of funding.
Yeah, that is true.
Like so much, we probably won't know what to do.
But that has to be spent in specific places. And so I think that we're still going to run into, I feel like, some problems with that, because it has to be spent in the TIF district it comes from. So I still think we need to do a 501c3, even if we get the 0.5%.
Guys, I'm sorry to be a bummer, just a point of order. It's not on the agenda that we're talking about this, so we have to be careful.
Yeah, and I think that we should add that maybe next month too. We'll have a full agenda by the time we leave this meeting for next month.
Yeah. Plus, I have to get going to another meeting, so is it all right if I skip out on our last agenda point, or are you going to be without a quorum?
We're good for quorum when you leave. I have to go to that same meeting. Are you going to Ped Bike Transit at 7? Okay.
Yeah.
I'll see you there eventually.
Okay. Well,
we're almost done, Katie.
Yeah, we're almost
go.
done.
You can go. We're good.
Bye, thank you.
All right. Thank you so much.
Bye.
Okay, sorry, I'll stop bringing up things that aren't on the agenda. I'm gonna get
Okay, so
we haven't met in a while, so it's catching up, right?
okay, so back to underrepresented youth and artists of color. So was there anything else that anyone wanted to bring up? Any more questions for Maria or Meg? Okay, so we will then keep in mind, we'll start to think about a specific project for that and some funding. I think is where we landed at the end of that discussion. Okay, so we are now down to maintenance of self-made man. And so
we're gonna take this one, Abby.
Yeah, Meg had reached out to Megan Mackey, who's no longer on our committee and is an art conservator, to see if she would be able to do the conservation work for Self-Made Man to repair the bullet holes. And she said that she was willing. She had a little bit of a different approach, and I had to run it by our Public Works committee because the other conservator was going to actually remove all the boulders surrounding the sculpture to do the work, but she suggested instead setting scaffolding on either side of the median, and then she would be able to safely access the sculpture without having to take all the boulders. That's going to be a lot of work. And so now I'm trying to get up to speed with where we are now. Did she give us a proposal yet, Meg? No,
I don't think so.
Okay, so it sounds like we need to get back to her and ask her for a specific proposal.
Yeah. Did you respond back to her and tell her that the scaffolding was okay?
Yes.
Okay. So we just need to, reach out to her again.
Okay. I can reach out to her.
Okay.
Did she have an idea of when she might be able to work on it? Did that come up?
Yeah, she's very specific. It has to have like a certain window of the right temperature. It's probably gonna be like in this summer. I think she had to be like above 72 or something.
And it can't be raining. There can't be any rain in the forecast either, right?
Yeah, it's like really specific.
Yeah. I was just gonna quick and look and see if I had heard anything else about that. She says that one thing that's important to note is that the bullet holes are weeping, but it is not a safety issue for the sculpture.
Okay.
It most likely would be in the summer because it will require several warm, dry days in a row. And that is it. That's all I see.
Okay.
The one thing we're gonna need to be cognizant of though is, we received an insurance settlement and I think it was about 10,000. And that's really the only funding so far that we have dedicated to the project. So hopefully it stays within that budgeted amount.
Okay. All right. So then do you, one of you want to contact her and see if she can give us an official proposal for it? And we can also add that to the agenda next month.
I can reach out to her. I'll let her come back and stay in her house while she's doing the work. If she wants to stay overnight, she can stay here and then that'll save some cost.
Good
That might
idea.
be kinda
Come
awkward.
over and make you guys dinner too.
Well, we have like the little separate unit, so she would have her own little entrance
Oh,
and
that's
exit.
cool.
Yeah,
Her former studio.
very cool. All
Okay,
right.
so that's it on the agenda. Does anybody else have questions, concerns, anything about self-made man reparations? No, nobody has anything? All right, so I think that's it. Unless somebody has something they want to add.
I'm Molly, and I can help stuff bags for the children's events.
Oh, cool.
Okay.
Thanks, Molly.
That'd be great.
Yeah. Thank you. All right, well, do we have a motion to adjourn?
I'll make a motion to adjourn.
I will second that.
All right, Meg made the motion, Aaron seconded. Everybody in favor of adjourning?
Aye.
I
Aye. Have a good night, everybody.
Yeah, have a good
Yeah.
holiday,
Good
everyone.
night.
Yeah, happy
Yes, happy
holidays.
holidays.
Bye.
Bye.
Bye.